And good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Grand Prestige League here. It is the LMP Master Series, as I think we might have had a lobby reset, potentially. So, that is pretty funny timing, to go ahead and say the least. Gives me a chance to actually swap out the thumbnail here. So, anyways, it is going to be a fantastic race here. I mean, it's Deep Forest. We've been here quite a lot in recent times. We had the SF500, and then it was also a part of both the SWT and the WEC for our Super Formula category. So this is, I believe, our fourth time being here just in this current year. So it's a track that these drivers are going to be super familiar with. Just go to see the lobby is open yet. So we did kickstart the stream just a tad early. So we'll see how this is going to go ahead and play out. It's going to be a lot of fun. My co-host B23 should be in here momentarily. I did kickstart the stream a tad early, just to go ahead and get things rolling. We do like to start the stream a little bit anyway. Go ahead and get some talking points in. So there we go. Now the lobby is back open. Maybe there might have been a setting wrong or something, potentially. Oh, room is currently unavailable. Alright. Sometimes Gran Turismo does like to do a funny thing at times with servers. There we go. You see, you just got to give it another go. So, let's go ahead and let's talk about the track for a bit, because this is the track we will be racing on today. It is Deep Forest Raceway. It has been in every singular Gran Turismo game with the exception of Gran Turismo Sport. And it has actually been elongated in GT7 compared to its previous counterparts. So it is, honestly, it's one of the most enjoyable tracks to drive on and to commentate. You get a good amount of high speeds and deep bends. It is just such a beautiful track. I love every time we have come to this track. It is fantastic work. It's a beautiful circuit. And I am seeing already a lot of love for May JP here, so always good to see that drivers are getting the support they so heavily deserved. And speaking of support, we are a singular subscriber away from 100 subscribers, and I will still do the W Shui if we hit that before the end of the year. I mean, considering we are just a single subscriber away, I mean, even then, the channel is just turning 2 years old, so that is absolutely amazing stuff here. The channel has just turned 2 years old not too long ago, and we are already about to hit 100 subscribers. That is awesome. Thank you guys so much. I want to go ahead and give a massive shout out to our sponsor of W.GG. Once again, use promo code GPL at checkout to go ahead and get yourself a nice 10% discount, and that way you can even further support the league. And a big thank you to W for partnering with us for not just the LMP Masters, but for the rest of, well, for as long as they're willing to work with us. So absolutely fantastic. They're awesome. Good tasting drink. There's no real crash, which, as someone who used to regularly consume Monster, it is, when that caffeine crash hits, especially if you're on like a long road trip, then it really does come into play. But anyways, talking more about this track, it is 18 corners. It is a mid-speed track according to the balance of performance settings, which balance of performance is enabled here, just as a reminder, but drivers can go ahead and tune a variety of things, including the aerodynamics, the brake balance, and the ride height. So it is 4.25 kilometers, 2.461 miles around, and I mean, it's got possibly one of the best overtaking spots in the game, essentially. You got the beautiful run from turn 10 all the way down into turn 14, which there's a few corners in there, with the longest official straight being half a mile, but you almost get a full mile running out of turn 10 going down into turn 14. So it's a beautiful track. I absolutely love it. We do have quite a few drivers here today. Let's go ahead and just take a look. We're seeing Porsches this time, and we did not see Porsche previously. I haven't heard anything about if B23 is going to be here. He should be. I will actually go and check my messages. If he is going to be here, then we'll jump to a bit of a blue screen. We'll get him into the commentary box, and then we'll return as soon as we can. We do have a lot of drivers here, so let's go and take a look at the cars here today. And you guys, I mean, I heard that I am a good commentator, but you guys are mostly here to see these fantastic machines and drivers on track. So we're going to jump ahead and get onto the track now. Let's go and take a look at these drivers and the cars that they are currently in. So Death Ghosted is in that Porsche. It's the first time we're seeing Porsche this season. We did see Porsche at Daytona, and it was actually a bit of a surprise that we haven't seen the Porsches run yet. A driver that I'm actually unfamiliar with, named Launch, is in the Toyota. JP running the Porsche in the High Caliber Racing livery. And then we have Yuki in the Porsche. And then Nuko is in a Porsche. We have the Audi R18 of Woodson. Keminger is about to head out to track. So, a good variety of cars here. I really like how that Puma decal looks on the side of Yuki's Porsche. So, and then we have the Porsche here of Nuko, Keminger running the Porsche, Flaringus is running the Ferrari 499P styled Audi. And then we have another Porsche, so only one Audi this time around. So, and if you guys remember from last time out, you will remember that there's 3 cars available, and you have to use each car twice, and you cannot use the same car 2 times in a row. So that, I think that did mean that a lot of the Audi R18s did get used up, so you're definitely not going to see a lot of those here today. Now, the big thing with the Audi R18 that makes it so strong is that it has best-in-class battery usage. So the battery on this car is just, it's bar none. It is essentially the best battery out of any car available. So you can only use it for 2 rounds here. So that's the beauty of how this series is set up. I mean, it's set up that you can pretty much have a good variety of cars, and you can see the driver's adaptability, because that is something that does make a good racing driver, is how well can they adapt to different cars, different tracks, different conditions. So much to play for here. So JP getting a half-second track penalty or half-second time penalty. He's going to return on into the pits. Launch is going to continue to go ahead. Don't believe qualifying has officially started up yet, but we're going to go and just run through the cars currently on track. And then we have Keminger, who is part of the Hololive Racing team, and he has a different VTuber on each of his LMP1 cars. And funny enough, the other day, he actually sent me a list of the VTubers that are on his cars for this entire season. So you see, actually I'll let him know real quick that we are live. Just gonna go and let Lucian know that we are indeed live. So we will see. And to go ahead and give out the name, and I'm probably gonna butcher this, so I do apologize, Keminger. It is Hosho Marine of Hololive Japan Gen 3 on this Porsche that he is driving. So that is the VTuber he's going to be using on anytime he uses the Porsche this round. So it's pretty creative having different VTubers specifically on different cars. So it's a very neat thing, and that's why I find that the Hololive Racing team is one of the most unique teams in Grand Prestige League, and even out of any team I've actually seen. I haven't seen anything quite like this out of any other team. So I mean, granted, they haven't won a championship to my knowledge, but they would win a championship for being the most unique in terms of the livery concept. Which, I mean, the livery is always such a high bar here, because there are some very fantastic liveries that are always here. I mean, you got this Porsche livery on Yuki's car. I mean, JP's liveries are always looking amazing. I mean, Oh, he is having a bit of a moment in terms of connectivity. Let's see, I know, yeah, I mean, the Ferrari style livery on the Audi is pretty nice. And then, of course, you always got the Exodus Motorsports liveries. They're always very pretty to look at. And the Toyota liveries this season, or this red and black color scheme that Nuko has been using for pretty much all of his vehicles. He used it for the Toyota I believe he raced in last week. So, I mean, this color scheme is always fantastic. We do have 8 cars here on track. So just to go ahead and give a rundown of how everything is going to go ahead and go on. It is, after our qualifying session, we do have a 60-minute race. Once again, all tire types are available to the drivers. And no pit stop requirements, although you are likely going to have to pit in just due to lack of fuel. And Death Ghost does have damage on that front right suspension and the front arrow. So that's going to pretty much put his lap in the bin. So, alright, so we will have B23 here, he'll just be here in a moment. And like I said, once he is ready to jump on in, we will go ahead and jump to a bit of a blue screen momentarily just to get him invited and ready. And then we'll be back to business. So, an interesting thing to note is, just want to bring up some historics. So, in recent times, Lucian has actually been very strong around this circuit in the past. So Lucian, he won the Super Formula 500, which was our most recent event here. So he is the winner of the second inaugural, or not inaugural, second annual, that's the word I was looking for, the second annual Super Formula 500, and he came in second here when we were here in Super Formula with the WEC. So this is a track that Lucian has been strong at. He does go ahead and jump into provisional pole position, which I still don't think, I'm going to check something real quick because I don't think qualifying has officially kicked off yet. Yeah, qualifying hasn't kicked off yet, so these drivers are still just getting laps in. So qualifying hasn't officially kicked off yet. So we are still just chilling out, watching these drivers go ahead and get some good laps in, get some good practice. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into qualifying for 15 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and get right into the 60-minute race. So we should go ahead and get things going here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Qualifying should be starting here momentarily. So there are some notable names missing here. Alex is not here this time, like it was actually just talked about in chat. The current championship leader of Nuko is here though. He won the last race by a very convincing margin in Daytona. So let's just go ahead and talk about, as we wait for qualifying to get underway, let's go ahead and talk about the standings here. Let's just go ahead and talk about the standings, where everybody sits. So taking a look at the LMP standings, Nuko does have 30 points. He is currently in the lead ahead of Lucian by 6 points. And then an additional 3 points down is Alex, which rounds out our top 3 in the championship. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this one does play out. We do have 2 championship leaders. So yeah, Nuko is potentially going to try to go for back-to-back championships. He won the GPL World Elite Championship, Super Formula Championship in the drivers, and he's right now in a position to go ahead and continue that trend and try to win here in the LMP Masters as well. So it'll be very interesting to see if he can keep that statistic up. Right now a lot of drivers are entering the pits. And yep, 1 minute to start qualifying here. So we're going to get underway with quali very, very shortly. And I will go ahead and share the same sentiment as F16. Good luck to everyone, as qualifying is soon to be officially underway. Drivers are dropping the readies in the chat. And we are going to go ahead and get ready here very, very soon for qualifying. It's a 15-minute qualifying session here around Deep Forest Raceway, and then we're going to go ahead and jump straight on in to the 1 hour race that we have here today. I'm really looking forward to it. D-Force has always provided some excellent racing pretty much every time we've been here. I mean, I think this is the 4th time we've been here this year, and actually, if we really want to get into the statistics, I believe, I'll have to fact check myself here momentarily, but I do believe we have been here 5 times already this season if we count the sprint races. So if we count the sprint races, this is actually the 6th event that we've hosted at D-Force Raceway this year. I mean, it's kind of hard to blame management for choosing this track yet again, because it's always like, it's probably one of the most entertaining races that we offer here. I mean, GPL plus Deep Forest is usually cinema, and I'm expecting this race to be nothing less. So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, get ready, get strapped in. Go ahead and make sure you have your favorite beverage, your favorite snack, your favorite, well, anything to go ahead and get settled, because it is qualifying time here at the Grand Prestige League. Going ahead and kicking off round number 2, Deep Force Raceway in the LMP Master Series, and our 2nd ever Community Series. We're going to go ahead and get things going here. Driver's going to go ahead and get started on the outlaps, and we will go ahead and we'll keep an eye on everything. We'll try to give everybody an equal amount of screen time here. It is 15 minutes of quali here, so I mean you'll be able to get a good amount of laps in for sure. Now the question is the battery life on the Audi going to be the big contributing factor here? As the drivers are going to go ahead and get their outlaps started, we're going to go ahead and transition to a blue screen for a bit. Go ahead and get the co-commentator on in, and we'll go ahead and get B23 here. So it is going to be a bit of a blue screen here momentarily. So we're going to jump back in. We're going to have B23 here very, very shortly. And I see that in chat, Death Ghost is saying he loves how his livery came out, and as he should. That is a very pretty livery there on the 919 hybrid. And B23 is now here in the commentary box. How are you feeling today, good friend?
Hello, how's it going, everybody? It is good to be here, and good thing I got here just as quali is starting to get underway. Didn't miss any action for real, so we are all good.
Indeed, and we know that Deep Forest Raceway is always just a beautiful track to come to. It's always been fun. I know it's a fan favorite and a driver favorite as well. It is probably one of the best tracks to not exist in the real world. In my personal opinion, probably only 2nd best to Maggiore and maybe Dragon Trail Seaside. But yeah, it's a really good track. And I mean, as a driver yourself, talk about how this track treats you as a driver, and what are some things that, as a driver, you really need to pay attention to?
Oh, well, yeah, this is a track that is near and dear to our heart, especially at EXO, as we started off as a drift team, and this is one of the go-to drift tracks for us. And then when we started racing and coming here, it has a completely different feel than you would expect, but just the nature of or like that first sector where it's all twisty and stuff, there's a really good mix of corner types. So you start the lap with these super high speed flat out sector, and then you come into the tunnel and it gets really tight and technical for a bit, and then the levels of speed that you have to carry just increase and decrease in weird ways that, unless you're a really seasoned driver, will catch you out. And these guys are indeed seasoned drivers, perhaps with the exception of Lauch here. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this is a new name that I'm seeing, the German driver currently holding P8. And I've noticed another thing too so far on this track. Maybe they know something I don't know about this track, because almost everyone on the grid is using the Porsche today.
Well, considering that you can't use the same car twice in a row here with the rules of the series, it is not surprising that we're seeing a lot of Porsches, considering that there was not a singular Porsche about 2 weeks ago when we were at Daytona. So for a lot of drivers, this would be their next car available to them. So it's pretty easy to see why that we're seeing
Indeed.
so many Porsches here today.
Indeed, as May JP just now serving a penalty for track limits there. And May JP with a new livery. He was showing me actually this week him designing this livery and updating me on the progress of it, and it turned out looking very nice indeed. So good on May JP, the livery designer, as well as the driver.
Yeah, I mean, I was commenting on it earlier just how amazing, like, I mean, honestly, even if these guys weren't some of the best drivers in Gran Turismo, they're certainly some of the best livery designers in Gran Turismo. And I mean, you see a good amount of social media posts on there about drivers recreating liveries that they want to use, and they're good liveries. Do not take this out of context, but a lot of them are just replicas of already existing vehicles. But when you come to GPL, for the most part, I mean, the only car I can say that is like a pseudo replica is the Ferrari Audi of Flaring Ace here. Everything else is just purely original, straight from the imagination. So I mean, it's always really fantastic to see just the beautiful cars that match the beautiful driving that happens here in Grand Prestige League.
Absolutely, and Ghosted as well, saying in the comments just ahead of qualifying that he also designed his own car today. And I do remember a couple of seasons ago, Ghosted showing us some of his very first livery designs that he's ever done, and he has improved tremendously since then, because this is a very nice livery.
Indeed, it's always awesome, because a lot of times when you think of like drivers going ahead and, you know, maturing a bit in the sense of they just get better over time, and the first thing we think about is like drivers getting better in terms of their racecraft, in terms of the pace, but the same can also apply to liveries as well. And that's always just something that you really notice. I mean, I actually did this not too long ago. I looked at my first Super Formula livery that I made for my college at Full Sail University, and then compared it to some of the esports liveries that I've been working on in recent times, and man, it is like I went from just changing the colors and calling that a livery to now like I can do some pretty decent designs. I don't think I'm at the level of like Death Ghosted or any of the other drivers here in terms of that, but it is still worth noting that evolution does come in many different forms.
Yes, and my first liveries as well were very kindergarten-esque, and I've improved a lot since as well. The only livery I have on the grid today is being driven by Illusion, who's currently holding P3 there in the Porsche 919. And, Ghosted actually just going ahead of Illusion by 0.2 of a second there on that last lap. So very good time from him. We'll see if Illusion can improve here as he is about to cross the line.
We'll
here
see.
In just one corner's time.
We'll see if he can go ahead and improve. The last time we were here, he was a winner in the Super Formula 500. He does improve a position, but still 7,200th by Nuco. I mean, that's a very close time indeed. But man, I mean, we know how much Nuco basically dominated in Daytona. Are we going to see that again, this time in the Porsche?
You know, just based on how it went, there's a decent chance that these LMP cars just suit Nuco's style, but the margin in quali so far is a tale as old as time. There's nothing between Illusion and Nuco, but as we saw in Daytona, just the race pace of Nuco was a solid step ahead of anyone else.
Indeed, 100%. So, I mean, it's also like, I know we talked about how strong the Audi is and how the Audi was essentially one of the best cars, if not the best car for most situations, but I think in general this track might just be better suited to the Porsche, because like you said earlier, pretty much almost everybody and their brother is running the Porsche. I mean, May JP is running the Porsche, Keminger running the Porsche, Yuki running the Porsche, Death Ghosted running the Porsche, Illusion running the Porsche, Nuco also running a Porsche. The only drivers that I know that are not running Porsches is we have Flaring Ace and Louch. Those are the only drivers on this grid right now that are not running the Porsche 919. So expect to see a pretty big lack of Porsches when we come back here 2 weeks time for round 3.
Oh yes.
So
yeah, and only one of those 2 drivers too is a debutant too, so maybe he was unaware of that the Porsche may have been the meta for this track or something along those lines, because even though we were likely to see a good handful of Porsches, it does seem everyone gravitated towards that this time around.
And looking at the next round bans that pretty much all these drivers had, so the drivers who couldn't use the Audi are Illusion, Nuco, Pixel, Ducadono, Camajur, and then May JP and BP. Those drivers are unavailable to use the Toyota. And then when it comes to the Audi, Alex, Killswitch, and Ghosted couldn't use the Audi. But none of them actually were... The Porsche was never banned because nobody brought it last time out. So, I mean, it's interesting. That was something that really intrigued me about the series, is the car allocation, which is something we've never had before here at the Grand Prestige League in the entire 2 years we've been operating.
Right, yeah, and it definitely becomes a strategy unto itself, and there is also a chance that maybe the Porsche wasn't selected today because of its strengths for this track, but because they didn't want to use the Audi here, which could possibly be better suited for the next round or something like that. So a lot of strategy at play just with the car selection from track to track with these guys. And yes, indeed, it's a very interesting thing to think about, because you could approach the whole entire season from many different angles.
Indeed. Another thing worth noting is that the next round, and I can understand why, I mean, you bring up some good points that, you know, the Porsche might not be good, but some of these drivers might have actually just wanted to keep the Audi pretty much as an option for the next race, because the next track we're heading to, being Spa-Francorchamps, is a track that really favors the Audi compared to the other cars. I mean, I've seen it firsthand back when we both did, although granted different stints, but both when we did the 24 Hours of Spa for Enduro GT. I mean, the Audis were pretty much just in a different zip/postal code in terms of just how quick that car was around Spa. So I can imagine that we're going to see a handful. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if pretty much the entire field, aside from Flaring Aces, would run the Audi 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking now, is that probably the Audi is just better suited for another track rather than the Porsche being a super meta choice for this one. And yeah, Illusion kind of struggling a little bit, having picked up some damage a couple of times in a row there. Another thing that I'm going to be paying attention to in this race, because I'm completely unfamiliar with the Audi and how it performs, is the battery management. There's a good chance that the Porsche's battery management and recovery especially is perhaps a bit better than the Toyota, but we were seeing that Nuco had a technique to recover his battery way more effectively than any other driver on the grid, and that potentially helped boost that race pace of his to just be that extra step ahead of his competition.
Yeah, because I remember even in talking just kind of behind the scenes before we actually started this series, it was kind of a talking point that the Toyota was really just not a strong car because of that battery life issue that it tends to have. And I mean, we also saw that during Enduro GT 24 Hours of Spa, where the Toyota would just lose pretty much all of its battery just like that. It had no chance against the Audi, which the Audi does tend to favor tracks with good straight lines and a lot of high speeds, like Daytona and Spa. Now, granted, this track does have quite a good amount of straight line speed, so I think we're pretty much in agreement on the fact that this is definitely more of a a strategic pick to keep the Audi available for Spa versus a meta pick for this track. But so far, Porsche has been dominating. Nuko with the fastest lap time so far of a 1:13.976, just ahead of Illusion here, who's just been getting penalty after penalty, it looks like. So
yeah, damage and penalties, big struggling. And Nuko has improved his margin slightly up to a 10th now. It's not much still, but it's about double what it was before.
Indeed. An interesting thing to kind of note is just the fog that seems to be kind of existing on the track. It doesn't harm visibility too much, but it is something just kind of worth noting as we are on board with Nuko now, as he's about to go ahead and try to wrap up another lap and see if he can go ahead and improve his time even further. But no, no, he's going to go ahead and try to come across the line. Not sure if he's improving. I don't think he is, personally. Yeah, no, he's not improving by any stretch of the imagination. About 2 seconds off of his pace. But, I mean, looking at Louch here, Louch is actually doing pretty decent. I mean, his battery is looking pretty solid here, as it is the final lap of the qualifying session here. Our 15 minutes of quali have expired. So there's 2 cars that are about to come across the line here. Let's see who the other one is. It is... So Yuki is going to go ahead and jump across the line. We'll see if he can go ahead and improve. He's currently in 5th with a 1:15. Is he going to go ahead and improve? No, not quite. What about Louch? Is Louch going to go ahead and improve? He will not improve either. So a few drivers not quite improving on the laps. So Kemajur now, who's currently sitting in 8th. Let's see if he can go ahead and improve his lap. His best lap is a 1:16.6. Can he go ahead and improve it? Oh, not quite. So,
and here comes Illusion as well. See, this is his last chance.
No.
And not an improvement over on that final attempt. So, despite the margins being very, very close at the top with the officially recorded time, Illusion struggling quite a bit to get some good representative laps on the board there, especially in those last 3 attempts in a row, having crashed twice and picked up a penalty. Had a clean run on the last one, but just not quite fast enough to upset pole position, and that will be held by Nuko. So congrats once again on pole position.
So now we're going to go and take a look at our qualifying standings. It is a Porsche 1, 2, and 3. Nuko taking the fastest lap time with a 1:13.942. And then just under 2/10 away is Illusion, followed by Death Ghosted, Flaring Aces in the Audi R18, Yuki in the Porsche, and then we have Louch, May JP, and Kemajur going ahead and rounding out the rest of our grid. The session has been reset, so I think that's just a manual setting of the grid, I believe is the case here. So the replay was saved. That's why we did it. So the replay was indeed saved. So we could go ahead and post the pole lap. Which, I mean, the pole lap for Daytona was very, very beautiful to watch. But here's the question, though. I mean, qualifying is one thing. And, I mean, the peak lap time was a 1:13. But we got 60 minutes to go ahead and go around this circuit. So are we going to see the Super Formula 500 winner who took his victory around this track? Are we going to see Illusion go ahead and potentially try to take a win here off of Nuko?
Well, in 60 minutes, there's so much that can happen, too. Even if race pace is solidly in the favor of one driver over another, after 60 minutes of the same track, sometimes brain fatigue can kind of start settling into your laps. You just start driving super unconsciously, and sometimes that improves consistency for some drivers, but other times you might just have a lapse of concentration that can catch you out. You end up with even just a single track limit penalty that can undo all the progress that you've made in your race. And so there's a lot that can happen here. There's even a couple of dark horses. I'm looking at maybe Flaring Aces in the Audis. Maybe he can do something a little different with that car. Ghosted is in a really good position to do something here early, and Yuki is always a dark horse to kind of contend for those final top positions. And with the mist and the fog, as you mentioned earlier, this is probably going to bring down the track temperature just a little bit, and over the course of a 60-minute race, that might ease the tire wear just a little bit, keep them slightly cooler, and give you an extra lap or two maybe of longevity out of that.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, something that's typically a bit of a concern when it comes to these hour-long races, or these timed endurance races, essentially, is that there's always a potential for rain to exist. Now, granted, Deep Forest is not one of the tracks that has rain available to it, but the next two tracks we're going to, of Spa and Lasarth, both have rain as an option, so changing track conditions could be a key factor later on in the season. I think the best you can get in terms of rain here is that fog that we talked about early on. The drivers are ready. We're going to go ahead and get to the race here very, very soon. And this is going to be a beautiful one. It is always going to be pretty spicy going into turn 1 here around the circuit. And you have been named the steward, so if you see something that would require a red flag or anything, that's on you, B23. Which hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can just get in and get straight to the track, which is probably what all these other drivers are going to go ahead and strive for as well. But, I mean, it's Deep Forest. It's a very twisty track. 18 corners. You do have some very high speed parts, including the nearly half a mile long straight just out of turn 18. 765 meters long. And then you have that massive run from turn 10 all the way down to turn 14. So it is, I mean, it's a good track, but it's a hard track. And this track really just takes no prisoners. And if you really are inexperienced, then this track is going to be a very tricky beast to tackle.
Absolutely, and definitely those watching now, feel free to let us know in the comments if there is a driver that you are supporting today. Who is your predictions? Who do you want to see win or do well? Let us know in the comments, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe, because action is about to be underway.
Indeed, and I actually, as we're going to get started with this race, I do have some fantastic news to share. We have reached 100 subscribers here at the Cramp Prestige League. Here in round 2 of the LMP Masters, we strived for the end of 2026. We got there or the end of 2025. We got there in August, and as we reached that milestone, we reached a race start here in Deep Forest, making our way down into turn number 1. I have my button right over the hotkey for replay, just in case we do see some spicy moments here in this race. It looks like we all get through turn 1 pretty clean. MayJP and Louch going ahead and fighting already. There's already battles happening here. Jumping back up towards the front. Ghosted is going to try to send it along the inside. Trying to go ahead and get up the inside of Illusion, and I think he's just about got it. Going through turns 5 and 6, but they're still fighting it into the wall. Goes Ghosted.
Yeah, that was a lot of wheel banging from those two, and it's hard to go through that sector without doing that if you're wheel to wheel. It narrows pretty extremely if you're going through there with the racing line. Not too surprised one of them ended up in the wall. Unfortunately, that one was ghosted, sustaining a bit of damage, as here comes Yuki and Flaring Aces closing in on him, wheel to wheel themselves, going around the hairpin. Yuki on the inside of the hairpin. They're still wheel to wheel coming out of it. We'll see what car has the straight line speed. It looks like it is the Audi of Flaring Aces, as now Lodge is just behind Yuki. This is going to get spicy into turn 1.
It is going to get very spicy indeed, as these drivers are kind of jockeying single file line just about, as Yuki's going to go ahead and send it around the outside, trying to get a move done. Louch, though, is definitely a driver to keep an eye on. He's definitely looking for some moves here. And MayJP gets bumped off the track there.
Yuki as well. That could be a track limit for both of them.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that.
Very strict there.
I think they got away with
Yuki
it.
on the inside. And Louch on the inside too. That might be a double overtake from these two here.
Oh,
Flaring Aces sideways.
a bit of a snap there from Flaring Aces, going ahead and I think touching Louch there a bit. Matt Louch is up some spots. He's up in the 5th now. So the Toyota.
JP seeing an opportunity now too.
Yeah, we'll see if May JP can go ahead and get the pass done. He's gonna try to. He's looking every direction. He is looking. He's gonna try to fire it around the outside, and they are side by side. It is a German drag race here between the Brits, going down into turn number 14. Let's see who's got the better pace, and May JP, I think, got a bit of a better exit. He does take the position, and May JP up in the 6th.
That was a very, very good line from the outside of the track to overtake there, but now he is giving an excellent slipstream to Flaring Aces to fight it right back. And turn 1 here, as we know from Super Formula, you can take the inside or the outside very effectively here into turn 1. Flaring Aces on the inside. We'll see if he can hang it around there, wheel to wheel. Oh, Flaring Aces, big snap and going into the wall almost. He manages to keep it off the wall, but he was facing it. And now in last place is Kemizur, also makes up a place from that little incident, although we do have a track limit penalty from Yuki a little farther ahead in P5 there. That is going to affect him. May JP in a good position to attack Yuki when he serves that.
And the battle I was kind of watching there for a bit was we were seeing round 2 of Lusion versus Ghosted, and actually Ghosted is actually ahead of Lusion now. Now we'll see which Porsche has the better speed. Lusion did have a good amount of a slipstream going into turn 14. Another corner where you can really benefit from taking either line, because even if you try to pass around the outside initially, you can get the switchback and get a good position gain. But Death Ghosted is having a fantastic race right now in this 919. He was scrapping it out with Lusion in the early stages, recovered from damage, and now he's trying to chase down Nuko. But Lusion is not giving up yet. The 2025 SF500 winner around this very circuit, mind you, is still going to go ahead and try to put pressure on the Ghosted. But Death Ghosted is doing a fantastic job keeping the Norwegian driver behind and staying in second place, and that's a bit of a moment for Lusion.
Yeah, maybe Lusion is just struggling at this track a bit. Maybe it's the car as well. He might not be used to the handling characteristics of it, but we've seen that all throughout quali. He was having issues. And yeah, Ghosted doing a really good job, especially in that lead up to turn 1. He set Illusion up very well going into there, very clearly communicating that he was not going to allow Illusion to have the inside line. And he has benefited from that decision. But who has benefited the most from all of this excellent action behind is Nuko, already 3 seconds ahead of everyone else, just kind of cruising off into the sunset as everyone behind him is in Vietnam at the moment.
That's a new one. All things considered, the Frenchman is having a very strong race, and it's like we were talking about in qualifying earlier, is that it seems like something about these LMP ones just speaks to Nuko. I mean, Nuko he was strong in Daytona in a Toyota, a car that wasn't really considered to be a favorable car for Daytona concerning the battery management. But this trick that he has found out has definitely given him a massive edge over the rest of the field here in this LMP Masters Series. So it's very interesting to see how dominant he has been in this series, looking to make it back-to-back championships with the WEC Championship and then the LMP Masters. Another driver that's been really interesting to kind of watch his progression is Louch. Louch is his first time racing in this season, and maybe it's first time in GPL overall. He's already up in the 4th in that Toyota, so he's proven that this Toyota can still be very strong around the circuit. He is on the racing soft tire, but he is out of battery crucially compared to Yuki, which actually is just about out of battery himself. So potentially that Porsche's battery is about the same as the Toyota's.
Yeah, and we were seeing too, May JP is just about the exact same battery situation Yuki was in, pretty much dead all the way going down that back straight. And so I have been kind of trying to keep an eye on that battery of these guys and just trying to note at what part of the track, like a certain part of the track, what battery levels they're at, so that I can compare more accurately, but once again, it does look like Nuco has the measure of the field in the battery management department. And just going off of what Whiteout was saying last round in the comments about it, has something to do with kind of blending and fading in the brake pedal just a little bit more into some of these corners in a very specific kind of way that it seems only Nuco is doing to the degree of effectiveness as he is.
To my understanding of how these LMP1 cars work is that they regain that battery under braking. It is a ERS system essentially. It uses the kinetic energy of the brakes and using the brake pedal and the friction that comes off of that brake when you're applying the brakes. It uses that same like energy to essentially recharge the battery. So if you brake multiple times, I think that pretty much just, it gives you smoother braking so you can take the corner quicker. But I believe with Gran Turismo, it does refill your battery a bit quicker. Now, I think in the real world, I think the harder you brake, the more battery stuff or battery energy you gain. Although granted, I've never driven one of these LMP ones in the real world. I would love to, but I haven't, so I can't say from experience. But I believe that is indeed how it works. I very well could be wrong, so take that information with a grain of salt. But one thing that we definitely can take for face value is that Nuco is using that strategy to perfection here. We're only about 8 minutes into this race, and he's already about 4.2 seconds ahead.
Gap out front increasing ever consistently at the moment. Now up to 4.5 seconds. And yeah, I do remember the first time I learned about these energy recovery systems in Formula One, and it was mind-blowing just how technologically advanced and clever some of these engineers are, and there's no energy being wasted on some of these cars that are advanced to this degree. Just the heat coming off of the brakes being used to recharge the battery, to me, is a very genius thing, and I'm glad that we're seeing it here realistically implemented onto these cars here in this simulator.
I think very even some road cars benefit from it as well, I think. I mean, that kind of system has always been around in some stretch. Before I talk about more science facts here, it is worth noting that it has been mentioned in YouTube chat that actually the Porsche is the only one that operates on a flywheel system, to where it actually gets more energy from straight line speed due to its flywheel. So that's actually a really cool difference between the Porsche and the other two machines.
That is interesting. Yeah, and I wonder what else you could do, because there's all sorts of different things in a car and in an engine spinning really fast and generating lots of heat, all of which can potentially be recovered into energy.
And actually, I mean, one of the earliest versions of that technology that is in pretty much every road car is your alternator. I know
indeed, yeah.
I know a thing or two about alternators because I've had to replace quite a few of them on my Hyundai Veloster. It has even been a running gag with me and some of my friends that my car is the leader of alternators. But yeah, it's always really interesting to see what kind of racing developments come into racing and how some of it does eventually get transferred over to the average road car. Although I don't see a Honda Civic getting DRS any day soon. That would be a wild thing that somebody in Time Attack has probably done, now that I'm thinking about it. And I know some cars have some really crazy active aero, like the Zenvo TSR or TRS, it's one of those two. But it's always really fun seeing how the technology is, I mean, it's affecting racing, whether in a good way or a bad way. I know hybrids are kind of a mixed, it's kind of a mixed point. Some people love them, some people absolutely hate them, some people are kind of indifferent. But it's always really interesting to see just how these innovations come into the world of racing and then eventually make it to road cars.
Yeah, I kind of like hybrid systems, but I don't I'm more of on the indifferent side, because while they are very cool at the same time, I do think it can be taken too far, such as the 2026 F1 regulations seem to be from the on paper. I do like it, the vast majority of the power coming from the internal combustion engine, although batteries are cool, and I'm glad they're being implemented as a secondary sort of deployment option. It's a boost of sorts.
I think it'd be interesting to see if they would ever implement something like what Formula E has with their attack mode, where it actually changes the car from rear wheel to all wheel at some point. I know a lot of series do run hybrids. The World Endurance Championship has been using hybrids for quite some time now. IndyCar is trying to mess with hybrids. Hasn't really worked out too well for them, honestly. But to add some spice to this race right now, Illusion is still pretty close behind Death Ghosted, but Death Ghosted does have the half-second time penalty for a track limit violation. So that is definitely a good thing for Illusion, but it's really not going to play well in Ghosted's hands. But even then, they have a very considerable gap to Loch. We'll have to get that pronunciation guide probably some point out to the stream, but everybody else is pretty much spread out. Flying Ace is trying to close up to the back of May JP here, as we're about to be done with a quarter of the race here. We're at 13 minutes into this race out of 60, so still a lot of racing here to go. But yeah, when would you expect pit stops to kind of start cycling in?
Well, based on the tire wear that I'm seeing so far... Oh, I didn't even think to check the compounds here, as we have a bit of a mix on compounds, as Ghosted is on the soft tire, so we're definitely going to see him pit a bit sooner than our top two, obviously, who are on the mediums. You know, based on the fact that Ghosted here is a little over 50%, about 2/3 of his tires left, I think once we get around 50% or lower than 50%, that's when the pit stop window for the soft runners might start to open up, because even though there's a lot of life left on those tires at around 50%, we might see the pace start to drop off significantly enough that it would be worth taking an additional pit stop to recover the pace rather than continue to lose potentially over a pit stop's worth of time as the loss of lap times compound.
And you always got to think about the diminishing returns of staying on the tire. Let's go ahead and get a replay real quick of, we'll see if this is when Illusion did take P2 away from Ghosted, definitely due to that penalty kicking on in. Slows down, and Illusion just says, alright, thank you very much, and he takes the position going into 14.
Oh, so, Flaring Ace is catching up on MayJP now, so we might have a little bit of action here on track. As I did figure Flaring Aces might have a pace advantage, the very experienced British driver here against our rookie British driver. And Flaring Aces is as seasoned as it comes here in GPL. And with the car difference too, very curious to see how easily he could make up this gap here, as now he has a slipstream on the straight. It's not a very good slipstream. He is just on the edge of its effective range, but he will be able to get some benefit leading up to turn one. Will it be enough to try to make a move into turn one, though? It doesn't look like it. It does not. He does tuck in just behind MayJP as they go into sector one here. A very fast, tricky sector here. Very easy to catch yourself out here if you go just slightly offline, as you're carrying so much momentum heading straight for a wall. You need every ounce of grip that those tires are going to allow you.
Indeed, especially when you get to this really tight and technical sector too. I mean, this track does have a lot of good straight lines, which do benefit the Audi, but overall in general, I mean, you really got to have so much good tire grip, and there's a lot of points where it does become a grip war here. and we'll see if Flaring Aces has the potential to try to send it. Now, once again, on turn 14, you can take the inside or the outside line and still have about a 50-50% chance of success here, as May JP is still really close to the front of Flaring Aces now. Flaring Aces, I think, has got a really good run. That slipstream is so much closer. Hopping on board with the Audi, he's going to go ahead and take it up the inside. A little bit of bumping, a little bit of argy-bargy coming between these drivers. And that is a very nicely done pass there from Flaring Aces. He is up into P6, but May JP is not going to give it up without a fight. He's going to look for every gap humanly possible and try to squeeze his Porsche on through. But I think the Audi of Flaring Aces does have the advantage here.
Definitely, and he had all the battery to play with too, as May JP had much less to work with. So all of the car advantages seeming to go in the direction of Flaring Aces. The veteran British driver getting past the rookie British driver with not too much difficulty there on the second time of asking.
Indeed, sometimes, I mean, I know the quote has been used to no end of the, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, then you're no longer a racing driver. I know some people take that to a very literal sense, but
oh yeah, Alex's favorite quote.
Even as like a racing driver, to add on to that, as a racing driver, you gotta identify when a gap is feasible to qualify as a gap where you can try to go for an overtake on. So, I mean, just because there's like an inch between that car and the wall doesn't mean you can fit your very wide hypercar, or LMP1 in this case, into that gap.
Indeed, and if we see the famous picture with the quote on it of Ayrton Senna, somebody should potentially edit in a little bit of parentheses in there, in the quote, to say like a reasonable gap.
Indeed, yeah. You gotta identify the gap before going for a gap. So it takes a good driver to really identify when a gap is truly there to exist. I mean, sometimes you can just lick the stamp and send it. We've seen that a few times where it has worked, and we've also seen quite a few times where it has not worked at all, and one or more drivers have ended up with damage from that kind of situation. I mean, we've seen it in Super Formula. We're probably going to see it in this series at some point, but it does tend to happen.
Yes, indeed. And now May JP picking up a half-second track limit penalty, and that's going to hurt his ability to fight this back for P6 on Flaring Aces. And it does look like Flaring Aces was starting to pull away just a little bit as well, so an inherent pace advantage probably lies in the hands of Flaring Aces, and now this is not going to help him whatsoever by the end of this lap when he has to serve that.
Agreed. So, I mean, we're going to go ahead and pretty much just have everybody else really far spread out here, especially when May JP, because it is a half-second slowdown penalty. But like we've talked about dozens and dozens of times here at Grand Prestige League, you lose way more than just half a second when you get that kind of penalty. You lose effectively like about 2 or 3 seconds roughly.
Yeah, and this is one of the... Ooh, we got a pit stop from Illusion from the medium tire. And he's got less than 20% worn on those medium tires, and a little over 50% of his fuel remaining as well. So this is very interesting to see. I wonder if he just has his run plan all the way planned out, or if he's going for a super aggressive strategy on Nuco to try to recover some of this. Because I was just thinking too that while Illusion is in a good position, maybe even having a slight pace advantage at the moment, he has to push extra hard and be extra hard on his car and all of the management thereof, just to try to catch up to Nuco, where Nuco can just keep managing his car, his tires, his fuel and battery deployment, everything like that with ease. And now he has a 21-second gap after that pit stop from Illusion, who's still in P2 after that though.
Indeed, Kemager making a pit stop now. He's actually went off to the soft tires, so he's going to go for a aggressive strategy as well, because I mean, even if you are William Boita, who has, well, I think both William and Nicholas both have both of the Boitas have really good tire management. I would say they're probably some of the best tire managers that we have here in the Grand Prestige League. But even then, I don't think even they could get a set of soft tires to last for the rest of the 38 minutes that this race has to offer.
No, definitely not. And this does seem to be the pit windows. We're seeing a lot of people coming into the pits. At this point, Louch having also served a pit stop and a track limit penalty on his outlap on the medium tire. Now we got Yuki in the pits. The EXO pit crew doing work. He now switched to the soft tire, so everyone's switching to the soft. Louch having stayed on the medium tire for a second consecutive stint, though. Doesn't look like Yuki took any additional fuel this time. Illusion having taken just a bit of extra fuel when he was in the pits. And another track limit from AJP, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just hasn't really been
laggy.
Yeah, it just hasn't been the Brits' day, unfortunately. Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see. We know he's probably got one of the biggest fan bases in terms of drivers that are currently on this grid. The other drivers who would be comparable to having a similar fan base is probably the EXO drivers. Illusion and Yuki and Nuko are probably the drivers with the most fan base aside from AJP. But I mean, he's in 5th right now, but there's still a few other cars who have yet to make a pit stop. Actually, he has yet to make a pit stop too, so I mean, it's not been the easiest race for the newcomer.
No, and he does find himself up into P5 now, but that is a gross P5 and not a net P5, as he is still yet to take a pit stop. Some of the cars that he did get past, he did so in the pits. So only a temporary position gain, but maybe he can stretch this stint out and make something happen there. But the odds are not great of that. But yeah, definitely MayJP having the biggest base of supporters that I've seen out of any other individual driver. EXO drivers do get a lot of support as well, but no one more than MayJP. And every time we see the familiar faces in the comments, and we appreciate you guys always showing up, but then I always see one or two new names also supporting MayJP round after round. So very popular, well-supported driver here, and he's in a bit of a sandwich at the moment between two other cars there in P5. We're going to see what happens here.
Indeed, he's going a bit wide. Yuki is on fresher soft tires. He's got a good chance to go ahead and get a move done here as we go ahead and make our way down the back straight here, going on to the 765 meter long straight on the exit of turn 18, making a run down into turn number 1. Can Yuki go ahead and try to get a pass done here? Just too much real estate in between himself and the Porsche up ahead, but I feel like it might just be a matter of time, just considering that Yuki's on the quicker tire right now. He's on that soft tire, the fresh soft tire, so especially through this tricky sector from turn 2 all the way to turn 9, I think there's a really good chance. And what happened to MayJP? That looked like a hard lag spike.
Yeah, MayJP in the last couple of laps has been having some random big lag moments. Although on his own screen he's probably not experiencing that. Only we are seeing that here as the spectators. And so from his point of view, he has been driving really well in these last few laps. Despite picking up a couple penalties, he has closed the gap to Flaring Aces, but now we got Yuki harassing him just behind, who is kind of undoing some of that progress, getting in between him and the car that he was just about in position to overtake. Another big lag spike there as Yuki does slip just ahead of MayJP, who now will have a good slipstream all the way down the main straight here, going into turn 1.
Indeed, we'll see. The two Porsches are pretty much bump drafting like it's NASCAR out here on Deep Forest Raceway. Yuki's got to be looking in his mirrors, but I think Yuki is going to have the better cornering speed. MayJP tries to send one up the inside, doesn't quite work. Yuki does go ahead and retain that P5. Those fresh soft tires doing wonders here in this race as he is trying to catch up to Flaring Aces, who is also on some pretty old medium tires. Now him and MayJP both still have to pit, so this will shake up the order at least a little bit, but all that considered, Yuki is having a strong race, pretty much right up behind, and he's got a good chance of getting P4 here in this race. But then again, we're not quite halfway through this race. There's still a good amount of racing to go. Probably still a good handful of pit stops that are still needing to take place here in this race at Deep Forest.
Yeah, Yuki with a ton of pace right now, demonstrating the tire advantage of those brand new softs on these two medium runners who he is now kind of bullying as he made his way up to Flaring Aces super quickly after being freed from the clutches of May JP, and now we saw the absolute traction difference was so huge when Yuki was able to send it around the outside with such ease and traction, and now he's got a really good run on Flaring Aces going into turn one once more. Flaring Aces on the outside, maintaining his line. Yuki with an easy dive on the inside to take P4.
Indeed, and let's just go ahead and get another view of just the absolute traction deficit that Yuki is putting on to these drivers now. So we're going to jump back to the replay. This is them going down the straight after turn 18. And then just watch this, because I mean you can see he's closing that gap, closing the gap, closing the gap, and then he just goes ahead and says, all right, I'll take this line, and not a singular issue, and he just goes ahead and sings on through. Fantastic stuff here from Yuki. This field has spread out quite a bit here. It is still about just over half of the race left to go here. We are approaching the 29th minute of this race here at Deep Forest Raceway. Flaring Ace is trying to catch up to the back of Yuki, but Yuki, just having so much more grip, is going to go ahead and just start to build that gap, or at least make an attempt to. May JP, though, has decided to call it into the pits. The driver in that blue, pink, and black Porsche is going to go ahead and swap the tires. The high caliber racing driver going ahead, putting on a fresh set of mediums, going ahead and getting some fuel in that number 13 Porsche. So we'll see. Gets a good amount of fuel, right about 75%, 74% fuel in that 919. So he'll be able to, probably on fuel, he might be able to go the rest of the race. Maybe. I mean, considering that, and here's the thing too about the season, the drivers do get a lot of practice time in between, because we do run this series every other week, so we won't have a race next week, but we will have a race the week after. We'll be heading to Spa-Francorchamps, so that is always going to be a fantastic race to go to. I mean, actually the first race I commentated here at Grand Prestige League was at the 2024 SF500, which was at Spa-Francorchamps, and that was actually the first time I actually had a co-commentator to commentate with, and the first time you and I commentated together B23. So Spa's always, Spa and GPL is always a bit of a nostalgic track to kind of come back to after being here for, I think it's been about a year, I think.
Sound about right to me. Oh, and our race leader now in the pits. This is going to be very interesting, because Illusion made up a lot of ground during that offset period, where after he took his pit stop, came out on the new softs, he came out of the pits about 21 seconds down, and now as Nuco went into the pits, that gap was about 16 seconds, so that's a lot of pace that was recovered there. Don't know exactly what the time lost on track is, but it does seem to be closer to 20 seconds time lost in the pits, as now Illusion has inherited P1 by over 4 seconds. And given that they have both just served their pit stop, that does seem to be the net lead for now, although Illusion, being on that soft tire, will have to pit again much sooner than Nuco will, as he came out once again on the medium tire.
It's interesting to see how these strategies kind of play into the hands of these drivers, but the thing is that Nuco really doesn't have any battery to play with at this stage. I guess then again, neither does Illusion. They're both pretty low on battery. But the question now kind of really just becomes, when does Flaring Aces pit? Because he hasn't pit in at all during this race. I believe he is the only driver to not have made a pit stop at any stage of this race. So, I mean, Flaring Aces definitely needs to pit in sooner rather than later. But let's go to take a talk about the rest of the season. I mean, we have some very fantastic tracks coming up here this season. I mean, as always, it's a GPL calendar, so you know it's going to be fantastic from start to finish. Cinematic race after cinematic race. But 2 weeks from now, we will go ahead and head out to Spa-Francorchamps on the 31st of August. And then to start in September, midway through September, we'll be heading to the Circuit de la Sarthe, Watkins Glen, and then we're heading back-to-back rounds in Japan for Fuji and Suzuka. So that is what the rest of the schedule is looking like. And for those of you who may be a bit unfamiliar, Suzuka is a one-make race with the same Toyota that was used during the pre-qualifying sessions for the series. So it'll be a one-make race. All the other car allocations will be used up, and then it'll pretty much just be a one-make race.
Yeah, and plus too, while Spa is amazing, one of my favorite tracks of all time, and you know, just the most legendary circuit ever, I'm actually a bit more interested in the Le Mans circuit because I've never commentated for a race there, and I've never raced there myself, but of course it is a legendary historical track unto itself as well, and these cars are obviously made for that track, so I'm very curious to see how that goes, because usually when I see Spa, I associate it with more so Formula cars, high downforce open wheelers, but the Le Mans track and these cars is like peanut butter and jelly. So I'm very excited for that. But Spa is going to be very interesting as well. And I do see in the comments, I didn't realize that David is Comer, I believe is Comer, and he is the master of Spa-Francorchamps. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time when we're there, he is also in the comments letting us know his insight as to all of the little tricks that they might be doing or might not be doing that could help some of these drivers out in the long run. And it is a very good comment section today, as I've been seeing a lot of new faces and some familiar faces. Whiteout in the comments as well. I did see Purity shouting out Illusion there, who is currently in P1 by over 6 seconds now.
Fantastic. I mean, and here's an interesting thing, although YouTube can't make up its mind which is which. We did hit 100 subscribers today on the Grand Prestige League YouTube channel, which is a fantastic milestone. I know I touched upon it very quickly at the beginning of the stream, or as we were actually getting started with the race. We did hit 100 subscribers according to YouTube. One screen for some reason shows us like we're still right at the 99, but the other shows 100. But regardless, I mean, 100 subscribers just at the 2-year mark of the Grand Prestige League existing. So that is, I mean, that's just fantastic.
Maybe someone unsubscribed just to undo the milestone. Now on my screen it shows 100 as well, so congrats to all of you guys for making that happen. And very excited to see where GPL goes in the future, because I do believe that GPL, out of all the private leagues that are kind of voluntarily organized like this through Discord and just through the community, GPL is one of the better positioned as far as just the actual pool of drivers it has, the way the media stuff is set up, to just continue to expand into one of the most professional private leagues that Gran Turismo has to offer, as I believe it already is in that state, but it can only it can improve as well. And I've been seeing that over the past few seasons, it just getting better and better, and I don't expect to see that slowing down anytime soon, and neither are these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, we've been hitting milestones pretty much very consistently here at the Grand Prestige League. I mean, We couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you guys so much. From the bottom of our hearts, it is a fantastic milestone, and it hasn't been mentioned in chat yet, but if you remember, 2 weeks ago, the last round when we went ahead and did the season opener at Daytona, I did make a bet/promise that I would do a shoey with our sponsored drink of Dubby if we hit 100 subscribers before the end of 2025. I mean, we're only halfway through 2025, and we've hit that milestone. I do actually need to order some more because I am running pretty low on my supply of Dubby, but I will promise that shoey is coming. Hopefully it'll be done very soon. I'll probably try to scrape together what last bit of product I have and go ahead and try to get a shoey done with it in the near future. Can't promise it will be today, but
you might need to order some medicine too along with it.
I'll be fine.
The shoeys are deadly.
I've done it before. I'll be fine. Although not with Dubby, I've done it with a Mountain Dew Baja Blast at one point.
Oh goodness.
But also for a bet, funny enough. But
I would have made the subscriber goal a little higher than that. I would have made it just out of reach. Because I would not have wanted to. Damn. If I put a shoey on the line, I'd be rooting against them at that point. Please don't subscribe. Please, we're too close. I don't want to risk it.
Well, that's a bit of a difference of opinion. I mean,
yeah, but it's too late now. We've already crossed the mark. No unsubscribing now. It's already counts. So now that that's been had, anyone feel free to continue to subscribe, as it will not affect anyone's stomach health from now on. But he is locked in, and we'll have to do the shoey. I'm looking forward to that. So, how is that going to be facilitated? Are you going to post that on YouTube?
Possibly. I'll probably post on YouTube and Instagram. I'll probably record the video, send it to Illusion. He can post it on the Instagram and possibly the YouTube, and then I'll go ahead and post it on my social media as well. So the shoey is coming. If we get 150, then I'll try to bribe B23 into doing a shoey as well.
We'll have to get a plaque. We'll have to get a plaque first. But yeah, so if you heard it first here, you're definitely going to want to subscribe, not only this channel, but follow us on Instagram at Grand Prestige League if you want to see our beloved commentator do a shoey of Dubby Energy.
Indeed. And I will go ahead and do it. It might even be as early as tomorrow. I'll just have to see how much stuff I actually have left. And Illusion is
in the pits.
Illusion is in the pits again. So here's the thing. I even saw in chat that somebody said that we talked about earlier that he is going on definitely a more aggressive strategy. He's back on the softs again. So these shorter stints, there's definitely a plan, and this is definitely intentional from Illusion. He's not pinning in to repair any damaged parts on his Porsche, but I think he is purposely trying to go for these shorter stints to really get the pace in bursts. So interesting to see that strategy is going to play out as we're down to the final 20 minutes of round 2 here at D-Forest Raceway. The field is once again pretty far spread out, but that's the nature of these timed endurance races. Once the pit stop starts cycling through, you have quite a few different strategies. The drivers will go ahead and spread out a bit here, but Illusion is going to try to gain onto the back of Ghosted here. He's on the brand new tires, but he doesn't have any battery to play with.
Yeah, it does seem like the battery deployment not turning out to be as big of a factor in this race, and it does make sense too with the nature of a track like Daytona that your battery management could be very important, especially given that the oval there is the way it is. But here, not seeming. Oh, we got Yuki in the pits as well from his soft tire, and pretty low on fuel, more so than the others. 13% of his fuel remaining. And Flaring Ace is into the pits with even less, 8% of his fuel remaining off of those about 50% worn mediums.
You know, so Flaring Aces actually really did go for the long stop here, and not Ferrari. And he's got quite a bit of scrapes and some missing paint here as well. So it'll be interesting because he might try to go to the end of this race on the set of mediums. So if some of these other drivers like Louch and Yuki make another pit stop, then Aces is in the potential to get a top 4 here. I don't think he'll be able to scratch the surface of these podium runners here, like your Illusion, like Ghosted, like Nuko. But I think in general, he's got a good shot at getting a top 4 here, at the least.
Definitely. It would be well-deserved and earned, but also kind of where we think he kind of belongs as well. But having a complicated first stint to that race in the opening where he was just surrounded by so many drivers, he did get caught out a little bit at times and now having to recover that a bit. But he is behind a couple of very fast drivers with some pretty decent gaps as well ahead, so it will be interesting to see if in the next 20 minutes or so he can make that up.
It'll be very interesting indeed. So a driver who we've been talking about here, who has made up a ton of time, is Illusion. Illusion's been putting on a lot of time here on this very aggressive strategy. Now. Yeah, he's pretty much right up the gearbox of the fellow Porsche up ahead. He's going to go ahead and take a look to the right side. Going to try to send it around the outside of turn 14. He's got the speed. He's got the pace. He had the slipstream. Does he have the position? He's going to try to go deep and Ghosted. Ghosted Illusion coming together. And it's a bit of a spin.
I could tell. I saw that before it happened, and it happened exactly how I saw it in my mind. That even though Illusion was almost a full car length ahead by the time they reached that hairpin, that Ghosted had the position that if he wanted to, he could kind of just not turn his car as much as he's supposed to into the when you have the inside line, and completely disrupting the outside car's ability to make the corner, the Verstappen line as it's often called.
Indeed, yeah, we're getting it a bit on replay there. You can see Ghosted was a bit later on the brakes compared to Illusion, and I mean, it's on the edge 100%, and it may even be reviewed by the stewards, and then potentially something might come Ghosted's way in the form of a penalty. But I mean, it worked. You may love it or you may hate it, but it was a tactic that worked. I don't know it's gonna work twice. Illusion is pretty much right at the gearbox. He wants to get a move done quicker than that. He's going to be trying to be late on the brakes as well, taking the very outside line and go for the switchback. And that's pretty much how you get that move done. On the second attempt, Illusion is up in the second.
That was a very tactically well thought out move from Illusion there. Knowing that Ghosted could possibly do it again, he decides to just hang around the outside, go super wide, super late, and turn in as late as possible to get a good switchback angle onto Ghosted. And it did work out, maintaining the lead ahead of Ghosted as they go into turn 1, and that is crucial because as you go into this first sector here, it is basically impossible to get the move done through anywhere that isn't the first or final corners on this racetrack. And I definitely think, just from my perspective, I'm only a live steward, not a post-race steward, but from my limited perspective, it does look like that's likely an easy penalty for Ghosted, probably a 5 seconds for that move a couple laps ago. But as you said, Illusion not likely to fall for the same trick twice, as he changes up his tactic completely and makes the move. And a bit unnecessary from Ghosted, as it does seem like it was a matter of time. He does apologize there in the comments as well, so he knows what he did was maybe a little over the edge, but doesn't seem to be intentional, luckily. So good to see our drivers apologizing, being good sportsmanship, showing good sportsmanship. And as Ghosted goes into the pits, but that really wasn't Ghosted's race. It does seem to me that Ghosted's race is to just try to maintain P3, and unfortunately for Illusion, that affected his ability to claw his way back into this fight with Nuko, the race leader.
Another thing worth noting is that very early on in lap 1, Illusion did bump Ghosted into the wall and
Oh,
costing
yes.
Ghosted sometimes. So, I mean, even if it does come to penalties, I feel like those two penalties might cancel each other out. So it would be pretty much a no gain for either side on that front. But another thing to note is that Ghosted's tires were shot. I mean, those tires, they look
Oh,
like they've
okay,
been
yeah.
to the average Texan barbecue, and they were the main course on the grill. Those things were grilled essentially. So,
Oh, okay.
I mean, those tires were gone. So, I mean, even if like he wasn't trying to go ahead and do the Verstappen line as it's called, he may have just not had the tire grip just because those tires were absolutely beyond salvation at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't consider that as well, that with the lack of tire grip, especially when you're on the inside line going into a hairpin, the braking performance is much, much worse, as you have to brake in so much straighter of a line too when you're on the inside of a hairpin, that it can kind of just fail to slow you down as much as you need to by the time you reach the apex, and that's exactly what we saw. Unfortunately, Illusion was right next to him when they reached that apex.
Yeah, and I mean, Ghosted apologized for it, so I don't think anything will be pressed upon it. But I mean, I really don't think Illusion. I mean, it's kind of tricky because I mean, Nuko and Illusion are on 100% different strategies. Nuko going for the more traditional strategy of just trying to manage the car and keep it, you know, within the white lines, keep the car facing in the right directions, and making sure your tires aren't falling off of a cliff. Illusion is on a more aggressive strategy, trying to get more small bursts of pace and really try to get the most out of the soft tires to try to claw at that deficit instead of the more managed, you know, overtime type ordeal. Illusion is trying to chomp at the bit essentially here to try to get closer to Nuko. And the strategy on theory had a really good potential of working, but Nuko in these LMP1 cars is just on another level right now. And also, not to mention, the battle with Ghosted did not help his case any.
Yeah, just from all the Illusion had to go through and deal with in this race, and Nuko not having to really worry about anything except for just keeping it on the track and maintain a decent race pace as he cruises to victory. Very similar to the story we saw in Daytona in round 1. Illusion, though, with really good pace on these soft tires, he has been making up the gap ever slightly and consistently ever since those last 2 pit stops ago for Illusion. Although he's going to have to make up like a little over 1 second per minute of race time, and I don't think that he's quite going to have enough to do that, barring a decent mistake from Nuko, but we're not likely to see that, as we know. So it does look like this race victory is more so in Nuko's hands than anyone else's, and it is his race to lose now.
100%. I mean, and I wonder if this is going to be the case throughout the entire season. I mean, this is definitely a very dominant start to the season for the Frenchman. I mean, winning by tens of seconds pretty much in both races. I mean, he's never really been under a lot of pressure in any of these races. For sometimes, yeah, but it's never been like, you know, it was always pretty certain that Nuko was going to win in Daytona. It's looking very likely that, barring something catastrophic here in the final 10 minutes of this race, that Nuko could, I mean, Nuko's got this pretty much bagged up. He doesn't need to pit again.
And given that these are essentially management races, but the rolling start too puts so much more of an emphasis on your quality performance, you really have to want to nail pole position if you want a good chance at winning straight away from lap 1 and managing the race lead like that, because the rolling start really hurts your ability to make up quick positions on the opening laps and corners. And we saw that today as well, as Nuko was never even challenged on lap 1. He just got to take off as Illusion was dealing with cars behind, giving him pressure.
Indeed, yeah. So we actually might have a battle potentially here between Louch and Flaring Aces. The Toyota Ferrari or sorry, the Ferrari Audi versus the Toyota. We'll see how this one does tend to play out. It is worth noting that Aces is on fresher tires, so I think this is probably not going to be much of a contest in that respect. But yeah, I mean, your pit strategy also really plays a very solid factor into how the race is going to play out. It was always going to be a gamble of a strategy for Illusion, trying to run this more aggressive strat. But I think just measured and steady kind of just won this race out for Nuko here. But we'll see. Still some potential battles, although Louch is losing a lot of time to the Audi up ahead. So Flaring Gaze is going to go ahead and probably lock in a top 5 position. He is on the soft tire, so he is going to go ahead and just use up all that grip. I don't think we're going to see another pit stop, and Yuki going a bit wide there in turn 10. Does have a little light tap of the wall, but no damage on that Porsche. Got away with it, but that could have really hurt his race. Louch might actually need a pit, but I don't think he will. And here's actually something interesting to note. I'd have to double check, but I think this race finished the exact same way it started.
Very interesting, because it definitely didn't play out that way over the course of the race, and yet it settled itself back out. But that's sometimes kind of what you want to see, is that the deserving drivers end up in the positions that they naturally kind of should find themselves in. And over the course of such a long race distance, I think it's more likely to see that happen too, where just the natural race pace of these drivers ends up putting them in the positions that they ought to be in based on that. Although we see, big battles, big mistakes can play a big factor, but when the race distance is long enough, sometimes those anomalies can correct themselves over time.
Indeed, and I am actually looking back at things. Okay, not quite. The way for this to finish in the exact same way that it started is if Flaring Aces and Yuki swap positions. Other than that, every other driver is finishing where they started, except for Flaring Aces and Yuki. Yuki qualified P5 and Aces qualified in P4. So other than that, this race is going to finish the way it started, as we're down to the final 6 minutes left of the session. And considering the difference between Yuki and Flaring Ace in terms of time, and the fact that they're on very similar tires, it's, once again, it's in the realm of possibility, but I'm not seeing it as a very likely option. Once again, it would take something unfortunate to happen for Yuki to drop about 7 seconds of pace to the Audi behind. But overall, I think this has been it's been a race that we've seen a good amount of on-track battles. We haven't seen as many as we would have during the Super Formula races here, but the big thing that really made this race super interesting, in my opinion, is just the strategy of everything. I know the biggest kind of comparison you can make is the more measured and spread out approach of Nuko versus the fast and aggressive approach of Illusion, going on to a multi-stop stint on the soft tires. But I mean, overall, this has been a very entertaining race.
Yeah, and I do like it when two very different strategies kind of converge as far as their potential effectiveness on track. And it does seem like the super aggressive two-set of soft two-stop was a good strategy, but Nuko with the medium to medium one-stop making it work. I wonder if that was indeed the actual superior strategy, or if he was just in such a good position that strategy was kind of nullified just by the on-track performances. But yeah, and you would think too, at a 60-minute race distance, that a one-stop wouldn't really be what you would expect to see. But a couple of drivers, Flaring Aces and Nuko, Super Formula teammates at Toyota as well, both doing the medium one-stop. And I wonder if they had any communication prior to this on strategy, or if they both just happened to end up on the same strat.
It's possible. There's no teams here in this series. It is all individual efforts, but nowhere in the rules does it say that you're not allowed to share a setup with someone. So there's a very good chance that they would have communicated about like, hey, my setup is going to be this, but also or my setup or my strategy is going to be this. The setup would be a bit of a trickier one because Nuko, he hasn't ran the Audi yet. He's only done the Toyota and the Porsche. And Aces has done, I think Ace's next car, Ace's next car is either going to be the Toyota or the Porsche because he's using the Audi this week as Nuko gets past the lapped car of Lauch. So, I mean, it's possible, and I mean, there's other teammates that have probably also shared at least some kind of data with each other, like Lusion and Yuki probably have shared data and potentially setups as well. I mean, it's all possible. As far as I know, it's not against the rules, so no real issue there, but...
Yeah, not against the rules, and I did just notice the mythical fastest lap time of Illusion being a 1:14.44. Four fours.
It would have been
1:14.44.
It would have been even wilder if it was on lap 34 while he was in P4, but no, it was set on.
Yeah.
It was set on lap 37, and he is in P2 at the moment. The gap is
ahead and behind at 4.4 seconds as well.
The gap is actually closing a bit, but it's not enough. Like, you got to gain several seconds a lap here. Like, you probably got to gain about 2 to 3 seconds a lap if you really want to make this potentially stick. But I mean, it's been a very dominant drive once again from Nuko. And Lauch actually had 0% fuel.
Yeah. Surprised he even made it into the pits with that. I wonder if he ran out prior to coming into the pits. Very likely, if it literally is showing 0 on the screen. So was not expecting to see someone not have any fuel by the end of this race distance, but what an unfortunate time too to have to come into the pits at 58 minutes into this race. Potentially one of the worst intervals you could possibly ask for. Very unfortunate for him. That promotes May JP up to P6.
Yeah, so May JP, the high caliber racing driver, did get promoted a spot. Qualified 7th, now up into P6 as he continues to make his way as we're down into the final minute of racing here. And I mean, it's once again still, I mean, I think these positions are pretty much locked in, so I don't think we're going to see any more position changes unless someone has a really massive wreck at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be the final lap here as Nuko is going to get ready to cross the line for the penultimate time here. 30 seconds left on the clock. So he's just going to go ahead and make his way across the line, and it'll be the final lap here for the Frenchman. It's been a very dominant drive here in Switzerland at D-Force Raceway, and he's on some really good form so far.
Yeah, absolutely, and Illusion can take some positives from this. P2 is still a great position. He's keeping himself in the fight in the championship. Nuko is kind of pulling away points-wise, but also the pace from Illusion was very promising. Well-managed stints and kind of smart to try for an alternative strategy just to see if he can make up anything, because you know, if there's a big gap to the leader, you know the pace difference between you guys isn't that huge. Staying on the exact same strategy isn't going to do you any favors. You might as well roll the dice and see if something good can come out of it. And while he did make up a lot of ground, it didn't quite make up enough ground to finish this race. Ghosted is our first across the line in P3 with some damage as well. And now we got cars behind finishing the race before our race leaders, but the race leaders are just about to cross the line. Here comes Nuko for the race victory.
And Nuko wins the 1 hour of D-Force Raceway. It's back-to-back wins for the Frenchman, increasing his points tally up. And it was a fantastic drive here from the Frenchman. Lusion, he gambled, and unfortunately you can't win every time you gamble. So he'll have to come back better at Spa, a different track. He will have the availability to use the Audi though, so we can pretty much guarantee that that's the car he's going to go ahead and pick. But your winner is the dominant Frenchman right now. He's got the crown. Certainly looks like he is the king of LMP ones here at the moment. We'll see if that changes here. So we're going to go ahead and run through our race results here. It is Nuco taking the win, and Illusion the only other driver to finish on the lead lap. And with the fastest lap with a 1 minute 14.444. The aforementioned 4.4s that we saw earlier on. And then is Death Ghosted, Yuki, Flaring Aces, May JP, Louch, and then Chemizure finishing 2 laps down from the field. But anyways, guys, that is going to wrap things up here at the Grand Prestige League. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning on in. And any final words or thoughts before we wrap it up, B23?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting at Spa, because I would say maybe Illusion's going to have a better chance too, but we know that Nuco is also just equally strong there, as Illusion complaining a bit about the dirty air. Those cars not being as badly affected as the Super Formulas, but they are affected nonetheless. And I think Nuco just is juiced up after having won that Super Formula Championship. He has not lost a race since then, and he is in the form of his life at the moment. You're going to want to see that in 2 weeks' time in Belgium. So make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel, as well as follow us on Instagram at Grand Prestige League to make sure that you are caught up with all the ongoings on here at Grand Prestige League. And we will see you guys next time.
And on behalf of B23, I mean, Nuco is pretty much on the form of his life. Here, he won the championship, he was the runner-up in the SF500, but he came back firing on all cylinders, taking 2 back-to-back wins here. Once again, a massive shout-out to W.GG for going ahead and being a partner to the channel, to the league. Go ahead and use code GPL at checkout to go ahead and give yourselves a nice discount. And thank you guys so much. We finally hit that 100 subscriber mark. You guys are absolutely fantastic. We love every single one of you. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now at Spa. Have a good night.